5 months into this and no audits. Zero visibility into the contracts that are awarded.
100%.
Unfortunately, Representative's time has expired.
Going.
Representative Salazar is recognized.
Yes. And giving contracts with no transparency is exactly the reason
answer?
why you shut down USAID. So practice what you preach.
In
Why is she leaving? I'm going to answer her questions.
I will.
Oh, she's going. Okay, I got it. Well, thank you for coming.
All right.
So you essentially became the new overlord of Venezuela, taking control of the country's oil revenues and giving foreign companies access to its oil and minerals. But you have provided no real transparency about where the money is going and who is benefiting from this arrangement. I want to now talk a little bit about Mauricio Claver-Carone. So, Mr. Secretary, you've known Mr. Claver-Carone for many years, correct?
I don't know how many years, but sure.
Okay. We know that he was special envoy to Latin America. He's also a former lobbyist who supported your presidential campaign, I think in 2016. And now he runs a private equity firm that is seeking $1 billion in investments in Latin America. Apparently, he is seen as your right-hand man on Venezuela. But he's not a federal employee, and he's not bound by rules about financial disclosures or conflict of interest. According to the Washington Post, he acts like a kingmaker in Venezuela, helping to determine which private companies get contracts and access. And that's concerning because in January, you gave confidential licenses for Venezuelan oil to a company that had been charged with bribery by the Department of Justice and employs a trader who gave $6 million to Trump's campaign. Some have said that Mauricio is the Jared Kushner of Latin America, but Mauricio has said that Jared Kushner is the Mauricio of the Middle East. So who is Mauricio, and why is he riding on private jets to Caracas with executives from firms trying to get contracts? And why is he texting Delcy Rodriguez on the regular? Who is he working for?
Okay.
I'm gonna allow you to respond. I'm setting this up because it looks unseemly that essentially you are taking Venezuelan oil money and sending it through a network of campaign donors, corrupt politicians, and lobbyists, and we can't get any documentation on that. We don't have any receipts. So the question is anyone from the administration, directly or indirectly, benefiting from the contracts being doled out in Venezuela?
Is this where I get to answer?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Number one is the number of people. Mauricio is one of many people that are involved in what's happening in Venezuela. There's not a day that goes by that we don't have someone who's interested in what's happening in Venezuela for a variety of reasons. Nor is he the only person in the United States that directly contacts Delcy Rodriguez and others. There is a stampede of people that want to be involved in Venezuela. Mauricio is one of many, but by the way, not involved in Venezuela. I am not knowledgeable or know of any financial links he has to anybody in Venezuela.
So I'm going to reclaim my time, Mr. Secretary, but I'm glad that you said that. Because you have said these things, you have shared these talking points before.
They're not talking points, they're the truth.
But it is hard to take your word for it.
Breaking update. Just days after this hearing, U.S.-backed negotiations over Venezuela moved forward without opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, a decision that immediately drew criticism from supporters who argue any lasting democratic transition requires the participation of the country's most prominent opposition figure. That ongoing debate over transparency and accountability is exactly what's driving this exchange in Congress.
When this is the most corrupt administration in American history.
Well,
we're talking pardons for sale. We're talking about no-bid contracts to those on Trump's family and friends plan. We're talking about a $1.8 billion slush fund. And I think that's corruption. The American people think that's corruption. They want to know if you think that's corruption.
Okay. Number two, this goes right to the point of transparency. You're absolutely wrong about the way the money flows. It's pretty straightforward, and I'll share.
So I'm going to have to reclaim my time again because the
what kind of
question about
process is this? They get to ask questions and you don't get to answer?
It's my time. The question
I don't know
about
about you. When is
corruption
it my
is really
time?
important.
So why am I
because
here if I don't get to answer your questions or your defamatory statements?
I'm reclaiming my time,
Reclaim.
Mr.
I want
Chair.
you to, but I want to reclaim. Well, do I get time? Because you make these defamatory statements and no one can talk here.
If you can't call out corruption in this country, then how can you call it out in another
Well, I can't say anything because you won't let me speak.
Question. It is about credibility and your credibility. And your credibility meter is on empty right now. This
See,
oil.
these guys
who
just get to talk and I don't get to answer?
Who determines the barrels of oil that get sold? How
But you
many
won't
of
let
them?
me
At
answer your
what
question.
price
I have an
does it
answer
get
for your
sold?
question.
Where is it going?
Oh, I get
will
it. They
let
have to
you.
use their time for me to answer
The
your
onus
question.
is on you to
joke.
prove that there is no corruption happening.
Well, how do I
That is
prove it if
your
you don't let me talk?
responsibility as the Secretary of State. And you know what? Normally we would have access to that data. That's the
You do.
transparency.
You just don't know where to
But you're
look.
not showing us any receipt. Well, then show us.
But
Do
you
you
won't.
commit? Do you commit to coming back here with whoever the person is who is monitoring the sales of the oil? Bring them before this committee.
Can I
Show the
reclaim my
receipts.
time?
Have the documentation. You don't have this time yet. I am talking about your credibility and evidence, not your talking points, because talking points are never a replacement for transparency
I agree,
and
but that's what you're
documentation.
saying. You're saying talking
And
points
we
without an
have not-
answer.
We are 5 months into this and no audits. Zero visibility into the
100%
contracts that are
false.
awarded.
100%
Zero
false.
Unfortunately,
transparency about where the
Representative's
money
time has
is
expired.
going.
Representative Salazar is recognized.
Yes.
And giving contracts with no transparency
Can I
is
borrow your
exactly
time
the
to
reason why
answer?
you shut down USAID. So practice what you preach. I yield my
Oh,
pass.
she gets to scream now too? Scream
Chairman,
and
can we
shout.
take down her words?
I'll give you some time. I'll give
Yeah.
you some of my time. Then you just
Okay.
just
Oh
change
God, what
the
kind of thing
energy.
is this? What is this? You get asked questions for 5 minutes and you don't get time to answer. It's not a hearing.
I think you said clown
Like
show
a dunk
before.
tank.
I
What
don't,
is
I don't
this?
have to tell you. I don't. I'll
I've
give
even
you
used
ti-
their time. How can I answer the question? They don't even give me time. I've had to use their time to answer your questions.
Yes.
All right, whatever.
All right. In my
Why is she
community,
leaving? I'm
so
going to answer her questions.
I will.
Oh, she's going. Okay, I got it. Well, thank you for coming.
All right.
Since this hearing on June 3, 2026, the questions raised by Representative Sidney Kamlager-Dove about transparency, Venezuela's oil revenues, and the role of unofficial advisor Mauricio Claver-Carone have remained active subjects of public scrutiny. In the weeks following the hearing, senior Democratic lawmakers, including House Foreign Affairs Committee Ranking Member Gregory Meeks and Senate Foreign Relations Committee Ranking Member Jean Shaheen, formally demanded that Secretary Marco Rubio provide additional information about the administration's Venezuela strategy, arguing that Congress still lacked a clear timeline for democratic elections, details about oversight of oil revenue, and transparency regarding U.S. policy objectives. Their letter questioned whether the administration had provided sufficient accountability for decisions involving Venezuela's transition and management of state assets. Those transparency questions intensified after new reporting at the end of July 2026 revealed that Mauricio Claver-Carone had stepped away from his influential but unofficial role advising the administration on Venezuela. Although he held no formal government position, Reuters reported that he played a major role in shaping U.S. policy, advising Secretary Rubio, participating in negotiations over Venezuela's oil sector, debt restructuring, and discussions involving major business contracts potentially worth billions of dollars. The report also described internal concerns over the influence exercised by an unofficial advisor and renewed debate about transparency and oversight. Claver-Carone denied having any financial interest in Venezuela, while the State Department stated that he did not currently hold an official government role. Despite his departure, administration officials indicated that the broader U.S. strategy toward Venezuela would continue under Secretary Rubio's leadership. This exchange quickly evolved beyond a disagreement over Venezuela and became a broader debate about transparency, accountability, and public trust. Representative Sidney Kamlager-Dove questioned whether individuals operating outside formal government positions were exercising significant influence over U.S. foreign policy and the distribution of economic opportunities in Venezuela. Her central concern was not simply who was advising the administration, but whether Congress and the American public had enough information to evaluate how those decisions were being made. Secretary Marco Rubio rejected the premise of those allegations and argued that Mauricio Claver-Carone was only one of many individuals interested in developments inside Venezuela. Rubio stated that he was unaware of any financial relationships between Claver-Carone and Venezuelan business interests and maintained that multiple people from government, industry, and diplomacy regularly communicated with officials involved in Venezuela's transition. His testimony reflected the administration's position that outside advice alone should not be interpreted as evidence of improper conduct. One of the most dramatic moments of the hearing occurred when the discussion shifted from policy to procedure. As Rubio attempted to respond, repeated interruptions over reclaiming my time prevented him from completing several answers. The exchange became increasingly tense, with Rubio arguing that he was being accused of serious misconduct without being given sufficient opportunity to respond. Congressional hearings often involve strict time limits, but this exchange demonstrated how procedural rules themselves can become part of the political confrontation. Another important issue raised during the hearing involved the balance between transparency and executive decision-making. Kamlager-Dove argued that Congress had not received documentation showing how Venezuelan oil revenues were being managed, how contracts were awarded, or who ultimately benefited from those arrangements. From her perspective, greater disclosure was necessary to ensure public confidence in U.S. foreign policy. Rubio countered that the administration's process was more transparent than critics suggested and indicated that the movement of funds followed established oversight mechanisms, although the discussion ended before he could fully explain those procedures. The hearing also reflected a larger debate over how U.S. policy should approach Venezuela following dramatic political changes earlier in the year. Supporters of the administration argue that rapid economic stabilization, reopening the energy sector, and encouraging private investment are essential steps toward rebuilding the country's economy after years of crisis. Critics, however, maintain that economic reforms must be accompanied by strong oversight, democratic safeguards, and clear public accountability to prevent conflicts of interest and maintain confidence in the transition process. Another notable feature of the exchange was how differently each side defined credibility. Kamlager-Dove argued that transparency itself is the foundation of credibility and that government officials should provide documentation whenever questions arise about public resources or major contracts. Rubio responded that repeated allegations without supporting evidence risk undermining legitimate policy discussions and argued that accusations should be supported by facts rather than assumptions. That disagreement illustrates how oversight hearings often become debates not only about policy, but also about the standards used to evaluate government conduct. Looking back, this hearing highlighted the ongoing tension between executive flexibility in conducting foreign policy and Congress's constitutional responsibility to oversee the executive branch. Regardless of political affiliation, the exchange underscored the importance of transparency whenever government decisions involve strategic natural resources, international investment, and foreign policy. As the administration continues implementing its Venezuela strategy and Congress continues requesting additional information, questions about oversight, accountability, and the appropriate role of unofficial advisors are likely to remain central topics in future hearings and public debate.